So now that Wonder Festival Winter 2020 is over and we have a moment to reflect a little bit, I mean, we have at least 2 weeks until Toy Fair New York 2020, and we're gonna go through all this all over again with all these big reveals and us giving our crazy opinions on stuff. February 22nd to the 25th. So it's going to be a little nutty, and we'll probably even get early leaks as early as February 21st even. But we have time to breathe and look at the stuff that we saw at Wonderfest, and man, it's a mess. I'll tell you, like, the amount of private messages I got on Twitter, the amount of craziness on the forums, on the Facebook groups, it has been absolute craziness. And I haven't partaked in any of it. I've just given my own quiet opinions, this and that with certain friends and individuals and Patreon people. But it's been crazy. It's been like, fire and brimstone coming down from the skies, rivers and seas boiling, 40 years of darkness, earthquakes and volcanoes, the dead rising from the grave, human sacrifices, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. For those people that know Ghostbusters. It's been that crazy. Like, it's just the amount of haterade that has been going on. And I mean, look, I could see where some people are coming from on designs and stuff. But the one I want to target more than anything is the crazy discussions that have just been going on about Masterpiece Arcee. And I can understand, the very first image that we saw was kind of wonky, and then the actual product that we saw in person, there's some areas that do look kind of weird. But I mean, at the end of the day, part of me feels that it's people that invested in their third-party product and want to stand behind that. And that happens a lot, and I don't want to attack you guys, but it's like that. I've seen that a lot in the past, where sometimes people invest, and it's not just, I'm not saying that the people who bought, like, let's say Ocular Max or Fan Toys or Toy World or anything like that, they're not RCs. I don't want to attack those guys, but I'm just saying, like, I've seen in the past I've been in this fandom, especially the online fandom. I've been in this online fandom since 1996. And when the third-party scene just, exploded back in, I want to say, like, 2007, 2008, there would be guys that would stand behind their third-party product, not so much because it was the better product, but because they already made the investment. And, I don't want to say denial, but I could understand their perspective because they put a large chunk of money into it. Sometimes they weren't able to pre-order it, and so they had to buy it in the secondary market. I mean, I feel bad for, like, any guy who, when Quake Wave came out, which was like the third-party Shockwave, that came out, it went, and then people, like, started buying it in the secondary market for like $400, $500, and it was just like, oh man, that's brutal. And then the official Masterpiece comes out, and those same guys are like, oh, nah, man, like, Quake Wave's way better. And it's just them, without even messing with the product, without even having it in hand or posing it, making that decision because they were so invested already. And I'm lucky because I'm one of those guys that, while I respect everything that third party does, I more lean towards third party doing stuff that I would never see Hasbro or Takara doing, more so than, when I see a Masterpiece Blur or a Masterpiece Arcee or a Masterpiece Cup, or a Masterpiece Galvatron, I can't justify buying that because sooner or later that stuff's going to happen. You show me a Masterpiece, I don't know, Point Blank, yeah, maybe I would buy that because I just can't see that in the next 10 years being a thing. Target Master, Masterpiece Point Blank, especially in like a super, Headmaster's anime accurate look. I dig that actually. That actually exists, but I'm just saying, like, that's the kind of stuff that I could see more being, but, to invest in key characters like that, especially, Transformer 2010, aka Season 3 movie characters, I don't know. So let's get down to it. So, like, there was a really good bunch of collages that were posted online from various people arguing, comparing this and that. And I mean, I've only messed with a handful of these in person. Primarily, like, I mean, even before the Masterpiece ones existed, we had the likes of like the more deluxe scale ones, like guys like Impossible Toys when they did theirs, and a few others. And I mean, Arcee has always been this design that, much like, let's say, Hound, you know, we feel like, okay, it's been perfected throughout the years and that's that. But, you know, there's always something that needs to be improved or changed and tweaked. And when we got into that Masterpiece scale where, you know, budget is bigger, parts are bigger, you know, space is bigger, so you could do more stuff with it. You could always do a lot more with a lot more space and a lot more budget. You know, we kind of have higher expectations of what it should look like. So, you know, we look at our Deluxe Generations Arcee and the Japanese side of things, the Legends one, the Sakamoto color scheme, and we expect more. You know, we expect a lot more in terms of how stuff is hidden and tucked away, articulation and all of that. And, you know, I look at what has come, like, because it's like, if I look at the timeline of it, you know, you had that Sakamoto one, aka the Generations one, and then Toy World did theirs, the Masterpiece one, and Ocular Max and Fan Toys, and we even had that Firebird, I think it was called Nice, you know, like, and they all look great in different ways. You know, I found personally, of the third-party ones, the Fan Toys one had the nicest alt mode, albeit still kind of inaccurate in different small details, but it's still the best in terms of the alt modes. And in terms of the robot modes, I found that the Ocular Max one probably was the nicest, but the Ocular Max, its alt mode is terrible. So, you know, and the Fan Toys one, I mean, if you're someone who likes, and I think we talked about it on the podcast in the past, the Jiggly Boobies, there's a third-party kit for your third-party figure. And then Firebird Nice is going to have its own aesthetic design that's completely different. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I look at what Takara is doing, and, you know, you look at the alt mode and you go, it's definitely the most accurate of all of them when it comes to the alt mode, and it gives you the little bells and whistles and stuff. And I mean, everyone could give the argument, and I don't blame them, you know, like, hey, who's going to leave it in the alt mode anyways? And that's true. I agree. That's true. Not many of us are going to put, you know, a Transformer on display in its alt mode. But at the same time, it is nice when it does look like the alt mode, because we could always argue, no one's going to put it in the alt mode anyways, but people would argue even more when a product looks amazing and doesn't transform at all. You know, you could get a really nice, you know, 3A, Revoltech, whatever, and it could look amazing, but if it doesn't transform, that's almost a fault in itself. So it's always that weird dichotomy there with the argument, where it's like, yeah, well, you're not going to transform it anyways and display it like that, but if it doesn't transform, it's also a negative, a net negative especially. But when you look at the robot mode, I mean, everyone's talking about the droopy boobs. Everyone's talking about how her neckline is lower and the boobs are lower. And I see it. I totally agree with them. It's something that is kind of weird on it, but I find that the rest of the design is pretty good. The rest, I mean, my only fear is just that she might be a little top heavy because of, like, just the design itself. When you have that Legend scale, you know, / Generations one, you know, you got to give her a little bit of a wide stance with her hips just to handle that weight, because she has her skinny legs and her small feet. So I'm really curious how this Masterpiece one's going to achieve certain poses and stuff like that, despite having, you know, that upper body, you know, top heavy backpack and everything. It's going to be very interesting to see how that goes about. But I like it otherwise. I think it looks really good. Obviously the color scheme, you know, it's leaning more towards how she looked in the cartoon, less so the lighter tones of that, how the coloring from the Toei animated movie in 1986 was done. But I mean, I dig it. I like it a lot. I think it looks really good. It's, you know, once again, it reminds me why I kind of wait. I mean, because again, I look at the third, let's say there wasn't going to be a Masterpiece Arcee. I look at the third-party stuff and I'm like, look, Ocular Max has the best robot mode, but that alt mode is terrible, you know. And then you look at, you know, Fan Toys, great alt mode, at least better than what else exists. Still kind of off, but it's probably the best of the alt modes. but I'm not feeling that robot mode unless you kind of like the third-party etchy gimmick involved with it. So I don't know. It's, to me, I'm happy that I waited. I'm going to buy the official product. It's not me being a Hasbro or a Takara shill. It's just that I'm usually confident in what they're able to put out. Yeah, there was, the case with Hound, and I did report it. I don't try to hide the flaws that exist within our hobby, especially on the official capacity. But with certain stuff, I'm pretty confident with what is available, and I really like what Takara has done this time around with Arcee. Obviously, people are going to have different opinions, and you're allowed to have those opinions. I mean, I'm never offended by people possessing different opinions than I do. I existed in the Transformer fandom in the early days online when all you had was Beast Wars and Below. And when you had Beast Wars and Below, and my favorite series was Beast Wars, during a time of Truck Not Monkey, and people hating on Beast Wars because it wasn't G1, when your favorite character is Hot Rod, and everyone's just saying how Hot Rod killed Optimus in a time before Night Scream and people hating on other characters or Armada characters or stuff like that. I was used to stuff that I enjoy not being the popular opinion. So I'm not, going to ever be offended if someone possesses a different opinion than me. But I really like what I see with Arcee. People might feel differently, but at the same time, I mean, I just wanted to kind of get that out there. Here, I'm going to post in the image for the segment all the car modes of the different companies, all the robot modes of the different companies. You can make your own conclusions. Let me know what you think. What is the best car mode of all the companies, including officially of the Masterpiece scale? What is the best robot mode of them? Do you own any of them? Do you like them? Is there some kind of buyer's remorse? I know buyer's remorse is a big thing because of the TFCon charity auction. Every TFCon charity auction, there's something. The best example was just last year. Last year's TFCon charity auction in Toronto, because of the Commander class Jetfire that Hasbro was putting out, all of a sudden there was a surge of donations, and then it's like, oh hey, there's that Phoenix, Fan Toys Phoenix, the third-party Jetfire, and it was used as door prizes and stuff like that, because it's like, wow, like people just get rid of their third-party product when something nice and official comes around. I'm even reminded of Giant showing up in the charity auction way back when we got Combiner Wars Devastator. Someone donated that. Imagine they invested in Giant, that's $600, and then it was donated. Or I remember also there was the Predaking. I forget which Predaking it was. One of the third-party Predakings was donated. I think I want to say that was not last year, but the year before that. But either way, point is that I'm curious, is there a buyer's remorse? Do people want to stick with their product? Are they happy with what they got? What is that product? I'm kind of curious because I, again, personally, it's funny, the only third-party Arcees that I own are not really even third-party products, but it's all Wonderfest one-day statues and all kinds of weird stuff. So I don't even want to call it third-party. It's one-day licensed stuff. The only other one that I have is, and it was just for a review, was when TFCon had the Nightbird in 2010, and I wrote the comic and the bio for that. I was also sent the Arcee that mold was originally based on to kind of use it as a comparison and everything, and it was okay. Not great. I mean, I kind of like what the Legends thing did a couple years later, but hindsight's 2020 and a lot more time to develop a product. But the point is that let me know what you think. Give me your 2 cents. I want to hear it, and maybe we could all have a civil discussion about our Pink Lady.